We're very excited about episode 57 as we welcome Raudel with GOVRN. He's a sneaker creator, designer, and enthusiast. He has over 46,000 followers on Instagram, and his handle is at GOVRN. That's GOVRN _. Raudel, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
So, weird question. I've never understood it. Why do you have an underscore after GOVRN?
Because I couldn't actually get the just GOVRN without the underscore like years ago when I was trying to get the name. So I just had to put something at the end, and I was like, that's close enough.
I've always wondered that, and it's always been like a really dumb thought in my brain. I don't know why. It's just always kind of stuck out to me.
That's kind of what,
I did it on purpose because I knew you were going to read it, and I was like, I know Dominic's going to read it one day, and he's going to be so confused about it. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why I make sure I read out the handle. So whoever's listening,
thank you.
You have already a big following, but want to make sure that they type in the right handle. But for those of you who don't know, me and Dom are big sneakerheads and golf nerds over here at Safe Park Golf headquarters. And we've actually talked about having you on the podcast for quite some time. So we're super pumped to have you on. Your work is awesome. We follow your page and look at all the posts. And so with that being said, we kind of just want to pick your brain and kind of, when did you create GOVRN and what made you decide to start this company?
I believe I started like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And before that, I had already been kind of tinkering with restorations within sneakers. Just because, I don't know, like being in the sneaker community, you're either collecting or you're buying or you're, I don't know, just figuring out what kind of pairs are either coming out or you're keeping the ones that you have. And over the years, you notice that there's certain pairs that don't get retroed. There's certain pairs that are going to deteriorate on you. And over the time, I was like, well, I don't want to just keep buying shoes and we're trying to just buy the retro. So I ended up trying to restore my own pairs over time. And from there, I kind of just was interested in design and then trying to figure out there were certain models that they never retro again. And if the sole deteriorates, then I have to figure out if I'm just going to throw the shoe away or if there's a way to save it. And that's kind of when I started doing hybrids where I would just put upper that had a deteriorating sole and just get a new upper from a different model and kind of put it together and make it a hybrid. And from there, I just thought it was something cool that I had seen a couple of people do. And I just want to post my own work and post kind of my own designs, working with already shoes that are in the market. And from there, it kind of just took into a kind of journey of its own where people started inquiring if they wanted to have their own concepts made, their own designs. And from there, it kind of went into what else can you do with it? And people were asking, can you put golf soles on it? Can you make baseball cleats? Can you do this and that? And I liked it because it was all within the sneaker community. Because if you love sneakers, you can still play baseball or you can still play golf or you can be into other things. And they just want to reunite those worlds together. And that's kind of how it ended up being GOVRN.
Do you have a favorite retro that hasn't been retroed yet? Or I guess it's not a retro at that point, but is there a shoe that you want to see come back that whatever brand hasn't brought it back yet?
Oh, that's a good question.
I definitely have one.
I think one that they have retroed, but I don't think they did justice to was I believe it's the ACG pocket knife. It kind of looks like this old school vintage runner, but it was an ACG model. And they tried redoing it in this weird different way with a different sole. And they kind of still called it the pocket knife, but it just ended up being really weird. I wish they would remake that shoe and I'd buy 2 of them just to wear both of them out. I wouldn't care.
Did you have any experience owning a business prior to starting GOVRN?
I used not probably not as serious. I used to try to do because I'm also in graphic design, photography. My whole background is art in general. So if I wasn't doing prints or if I wasn't working on graphic design, I was doing photography and just kind of freelance. And then I would just get picked up to do certain brochures, flyers. Sometimes it'd be photo sessions or people who needed a photographer for media. So it was kind of I had these kind of different avenues that I was working with, but never enough to kind of say it was a serious thing that kind of had a good employment chat on its own.
Sure.
Prior to this, yeah.
So with Dom had asked about the GOVRN, the handle with the hashtag, it wasn't, or the underscore. the GOVRN wasn't available. Is this how it got created though? Was it from Instagram, so to speak, or did you have like a website and people reach out to you before Instagram?
No, it actually just started on Instagram. It just was it actually was just kind of more like of a hobby, as far as like doing hybrids and like kind of like making my own projects. It was just kind of something I wanted to share between my own work. And that was pretty much it. And from there, it was just like inquiring and then kind of like building, okay, if I want to do this for clients, like if I want to take it more seriously, like I built a website. And then from there, like I started kind of looking more into like materials and like having to do more serious studying on my own between materials and like glues and anything that has to do with like shoemaking. I had to kind of like dive into. And then over the years, that's kind of like once I practiced and studied all those things, it became more serious. And then by the time I knew it, I was kind of like booked out in a month, and I was like, all right, well, this is like a real thing now, and it's just happening.
Instagram is wild. I mean, the community. Sorry, I know you're gonna say something, but we've talked about this so many different times. But just the golf community in general here on Instagram, the people that that you meet, that you talk to on a regular basis, it's fantastic, and it's just mind blowing how they become your friends, and you're constantly talking to them on a regular basis. And I feel that's kind of the same way also in the sneaker industry as well. It's kind of that community. But the cool thing with your side here is that you have not only golf, you have baseball, football, just regular streetwear. It's kind of a wide range of different people that are in the shoe industry itself. So you kind of can hit all genres, so to speak.
I feel like the sneaker community is not as nice as the golf community. I've been in sneakers since like I was in high school, right? Going back to like, God, I think 2013, kind of, I took the leap. And it's very like, oh, you like that? Oh, well, that's dumb. Or, oh, you're into that? That's stupid. Why are you wearing those? It's not
the judgy.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, oh, you crease your shoes, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, it's a shoe. Wear them. Cause 10 years from now, if you leave that shoe in the box, you're not going to have that shoe anymore. And as we've already discussed, they're not always retro those.
Yep.
Yeah.
The golf community is not quite that way.
Sure.
Yeah. I feel like the sneaker community has a lot of like sub communities within it. And then I think over the years, like in these last like 2-3 years, I think it's gotten even more complicated between like brands and like styles and how you wear your shoes with certain things, or just there's too many like subgenres within it that like it's kind of hard for like I think everyone to get along. Sure. But it's been getting more and more divided because like it between money and like brands doing certain things and like people believing like certain things within the hype or like not within the hype, or like an old head and like new kids coming up. I think that's where like maybe like the niceness doesn't come in, because it's just different. You're in the same community, but it's like different worlds within the same community,
Sure.
Well, yeah,
and I feel like with golf, it's like the same, right? Like golf is just like golf. Like everyone plays a sport. You can have different clubs, but like they might be different brands, but we all need that club to like hit a certain thing, or like we all like go to certain places to play. You know what I mean? It's like it's more direct.
Yeah, I have a lot of little pet peeves within the sneaker community space, whatever. I have less pet peeves with the golf stuff.
Yeah,
which is nice. Dick, yeah, I don't know. And right now, it's really hard to get into sneakers, and it's hard to want to be into it anymore, especially with how weird everything is. But
yeah,
it's always nice to be able to talk to people who like it, understand it, whether they're on your side or not.
Sure. Raudel, are you a big like sneakerhead as far as like collecting as well?
I used to be. That's when like I kind of started doing like the restoration myself, because then I would notice that there were certain pairs that I wanted to either like repair myself, or I wanted to like bring back to life that I couldn't find a donor for. And then once I actually started my business, I actually like sold a lot of stuff off. So I don't really have like a huge collection like I used to before. Now it's just projects that I've done myself. So like I've been kind of doing over the years, and I really don't have anything that I would be considered to be like valuable as a collection to people who buy shoes nowadays. Sure. Because all that stuff I sold off, and a lot of that stuff that I sold off, I ended up having to like use to like start what I'm doing now. So like between machinery and like sewing machines and like leather and like everything that you need, that's kind of where my collection went. It went into like exactly what I do now for the community, which I think is nice, because I'm still part of the community, and the things that got me into sneakers, like got me into this world, and I'm still working with the sneaker community. So that's kind of where I see the positive there.
Did you have any experience on like when you said like the machinery and all that? Was it all like through YouTube? How did you kind of understand how like the sewing machine works? For an example, like I mean, I've taken some sewing classes like back in school, like a long time ago, but other than that, I would never know how to use a sewing machine. So like, is that something that you just kind of picked up through the internet, or did you have experience on that as well?
So pretty much anything that had to do with sewing, I had to like pretty much go out, and like I would go to the sewing shops, and then I knew that there was like certain machines that I needed. So then I had to like dive into looking into the YouTube, or like reading articles, or like just anything I can to just find like the name of a certain type of machine. And then from there, I'd actually have to go from place to place and ask if they had like a certain type of sewing machine, if they had certain type of materials, if they had this and that. And being here in LA, it's not that bad because there's a lot of like, there's a big sewing industry in LA.
Sure.
So from there, whoever sold me the machine, I would actually like have to ask and be like, "Hey, can you just like run me down on like how to load the bobbin and like how the thread is going to be guided through?" And throughout that time, you get to meet people. And I was lucky enough to meet a lot of people who either worked with sewing machines, or they were like pretty much like what you would consider a mechanic for like sewing machines. So they work within warehouses that, they build like clothes for large brands, and they're on call to just go in and like fix anything that needs to be fixed. And through the years, you make those acquaintances and friendships and partnerships between them. And then that's kind of how I ended up picking up more on how to like sew, and like little like tips and tricks between other people who work on shoes. That's kind of like just years of just going out and trying to like figure it out myself, and then finally putting it into practice. And then when those things join, that's when like you get the result.
Have you met the shoe surgeon at all? I have a hard time saying his name. Uh, I know he's like the big one on
Hmm.
Instagram in terms of I to
Custom
me,
shoes.
well, to me, it's not custom; it's more bespoke because he'll like
Yeah.
completely rebuild it from the ground up and do it
Mhm.
better.
Sure.
Right.
But you two were like the ones that I started to follow early on.
Hmm.
Um, the GOVRN page, and then obviously the shoe surgeon one. He's got the same name as me, which is sweet. His name's Dominic as well. So right there. Um,
Yeah.
I think what he does is art as well. I was just wondering if you've ever met him and were able to pick his brain because I've seen him talk and the way his brain works is like really fascinating to me.
No, I've never had a chance to meet with him, unfortunately. But yeah, it would be dope to like link up one day. But no, I've never met him.
Okay.
We'll get him on the pod.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That'd be sweet.
Do you have like multiple employees, or is it just like a one man show?
I have a couple of people who help me. So pretty much anything that has to do with the shoes, like I'll have to deal with. And then usually like emails or like shipping. Like I just have like a couple of people that would just help me there.
Nice.
But it's not like a huge like thing or anything like that.
Now, based off of kind of what you're saying, I'm assuming everything's kind of like in house. Do you have any plans on maybe expanding like brick and mortar, like having a storefront, and maybe even doing like where you, because most of it's all like commissioned uh, pieces that you order online, which I kind of want to talk about that here in a minute. But have you ever thought about like doing like a mass production of maybe some of the more popular shoes that people are wanting, or that be like too difficult because you'd have to order those shoes and swap them all the time? I guess my question is like having a storefront where it's, instead of just ordering online, you could actually walk into the store and buy a pair of shoes.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that would always be like cool to do. I almost feel like if we went that route, it'd be more like a pop up. Like we'd probably rent a space and like have like some type of event for that pop up. Because I feel like if we ever did a brick and mortar, like we'd have to like constantly have production to like sell in store. And
Sure.
then I think the only positive would be like I guess you'd be able to like walk in and like ask questions and like drop your stuff off if you needed any work done. Um, but yeah, like especially being out here in LA, like rent is not cheap, and a brick and mortar would be like something that would be a big, uh, I guess, like cost
Sure.
for hopefully what would actually be pushed out of that brick and mortar, like as far as like sales. Which I don't see it like not working, but it's just like I guess an additional thing where we'd have to also figure out like you said, you had to order everything. We'd have to like make the shoe, and then we'd have to make sure that it sells.
Right.
And right now,
Yes.
like being on commission, that hopefully there's like no, there's no way we're gonna like over have like a fee that's gonna go over something and it not be used because it's off commission. So it's just like whatever
Sure.
project it is what's gonna be sent out. But that'd be the
You,
only difference, really.
you could kind of do like what Mosh has been doing. He's been doing it to where you could like pre-order his shoes like in a specific color. That'd be kind of cool. Like you could do like a run of whatever, and you could do like 2 of each size.
Right. But then again, then you wouldn't have to like worry about having an overhead, cost. But he has done that where he'll like work with like some of those local retailer, or not retailers, but shoe places or pop-up places where he can actually like use their space for that. So, but it would kind of make sense to do kind of what you're doing right now. I was just kind of curious if that's something maybe down the road, but I could imagine LA would be pretty expensive.
Yeah. It's not impossible, but it's just kind of one of those things for sure.
Sure. Can you kind of just describe like the process from like start to finish? Like for example, if me or Dom hopped on your website and we wanted to place an order for, to say randomly, I kind of made a note earlier, but some Tiger Woods TW14s. I wanted to use the sole on a pair of Kobe 10s. How would I go about ordering those?
Actually, fun fact before we get too deep, I got bored and took the sole off of a Jordan 1. So I feel like I'm a little accomplished in this.
All right.
Not like too much because I did mess it up. But I took the sole off. I was pretty proud of that. Yeah. I had my little heat gun and everything.
But so if somebody was trying to order those, like how I'm assuming we'd want to go on the website, obviously, and maybe is there like a message portal that we reach out to you first before we even, or can you just maybe describe that and walk us through how that works?
Yeah, so usually there's like 2 ways that people either like will contact us. They'll either have a concept in mind already, or they'll see something that's posted and then want the same concept done. Usually people, the client will reach out and then we just ask like, is this a shoe that you already have? And you just want the cleat or the golf cleat put on to the sneaker or the basketball shoe, or are you looking to like have everything acquired and have like a full invoice for the build and the parts? And then from there, we figure out which one it is. If they already have the shoe, we go through like what sizes they may need. And they actually would send the shoe in to be worked on. And then we just ship it back when it's completed. If they want to have it done, built, because they don't have the shoe already, then we can let them know like what size do you need, what colorway. And then we actually give them an estimate on the work and the parts together. And then an invoice gets sent out for the total. So it just depends. Like either you'll be paying the service or you can pay service and parts.
Okay. This might be a dumb question, but let's say like both shoes. Well, first off, you do work on used shoes, correct?
Yeah. People will send in like something that they've already worn, and that's totally fine.
Okay. So let's just say like we'll go back to the TW14s and the Kobe's. Like let's just say they're both in like really good condition. Do most people, I said this might be a dumb question, but do most people like when they switch them, do they buy both? Do they have them work on both pairs of shoes? Like I want to switch my Kobe to the uppers with the soles of the TWs and vice versa.
It doesn't happen all the time. We'll have sometimes where people want that done and it just won't be possible because certain things just won't line up, or the width of certain parts are just not the same. So usually if the sole is compatible with the upper, it doesn't always mean that it's vice versa. And the times that it is vice versa, they ask, and like we'll do our best to like make sure everything stays intact so we could put the other pair back together. But it's not all the time that people ask that. It'll just be like in some instances, like we've had like Jordans or like Dunks, and they send them in and they're like, I just want like the Dunk sole on the Jordan 1. And then from there, they'll just be like, but because it's so similar, like, can you just put the Dunk upper on the Jordan 1? So it's like, yeah, like we could totally do that because they're so similar. And then there's projects where it's not possible because the invert of it just wouldn't work.
Okay. And how long does a project typically take from like start to finish once we mail them out to you or send them out to you?
So the process, like right now, depending like workload or like as far as like the turnaround time, or do you mean like the actual process of like working on the pair?
You can kind of lay it out on each way. Like I'm assuming you're probably booked up or backed up right now because you are just doing everything kind of by yourself. So I guess like right now, if let's say I placed an order, how long would it take for me to get them from being back ordered, or however long it would take you if I mailed them to you tomorrow?
So usually like by the time they're in hand, it's about like 30 business days. So by the time they're in hand, that's like about the time from they're on the shelves, and then from the time that they wait and then the time they get worked on and they get shipped out is about 30 business days.
Yeah, that's actually like it seems actually like it would seem like it would take longer because of it's a lot of work, but that's doesn't seem very long at all. So, and like currently, like in your situation right now, where are you at as far as like orders? Are you pretty backed up?
Yeah, usually like we're pretty close to that deadline of like the 30 business days. It's usually like on par. I mean, I think it's been like a good while now that it hasn't changed. Sometimes we finish projects earlier, so we'll say 30 business days, and then sometimes people will just receive it like a week or 2 weeks earlier than that deadline.
Sure.
But depending on our workload, because sometimes we also do bespoke. We also do like little like projects where like we'll switch a tongue or like we'll change certain parts of leather in like certain shoes, or like we'll just, I don't know, just do something crazy where we add like the golf threading to like a sole that's a sneaker already. So it just depends. Some projects take longer. So we usually say 30 business days to make sure we don't like miss any deadlines with clients and they're not like worried about their shoes. Um, Sometimes it'll be earlier, sometimes it'll be the 30 business days.
But yeah, so that seems like a not bad at all. What's been like your weirdest request for soul swapping, if you can think of one, as far as the different types of shoes?
Um, I mean, there's been a couple for sure. I think there's some that are like people don't like, they don't get it because like they're just so like they'll just, it's just so random that like people will put something together. But I think the one that like really got me like maybe like 2 3 years ago was someone got like an actual like legit Jordan 1 off white with a Monarch sole for like a sneaker. And
Interesting.
yeah, I wasn't expecting it, and like I didn't even know like how it was gonna work out putting it together. But that was probably one of the strangest ones I did because yeah, it was not even back then it was not a cheap shoe to like work on,
Right.
and they just went through with it, and I was like, all right, that's cool. Like I would have never expected someone to put a Monarch sole on a Jordan 1, but
It is
we
probably the
did.
most comfortable Jordan 1 though.
It
Prob-
probably, yeah.
Like, because they're not known to be comfortable. So I bet you that is like the most comfortable off-white one ever.
You know, that kind
Yeah.
of brings me back to like the off whites are like very expensive. Do you see a lot of like fake shoes that they're trying to
A lot,
swap?
a lot of what?
Fake shoes, like, you know, there's a lot of like
Like
fake
replicas.
like replica Jordan ones. Like obviously like an off-white Jordan 1 is very expensive. So like, do you ever see like fakes come through? I don't know if you're really checking for that, but I'm sure you could probably, after seeing plenty of different types of Jordan shoes, you can kind of maybe tell which is fake and which isn't. But is that something that ever comes up?
As far as like people sending in replicas?
Yeah, like if someone just they buy a fake pair, like instead of buying like an actual real pair, is that something that like
Oh yeah,
can
no.
you like
Well, I think even recently someone sent in like a Travis Scott that was like a colorway that doesn't exist. And like,
okay.
yeah, there's no way that like I'm gonna post that they're real because like that colorway doesn't even exist. So for anyone who knows about sneakers and like they see the colorway, like it looks like a Jordan 1 Travis Scott, right? But it's like it's not even a colorway that exists. So like automatically I wouldn't even have to check the shoe. I'd be like, that's not a real shoe because that colorway doesn't even exist. Even though the shoe looks dope, like the colorway
Yep.
look cool, but it's a
I think
colorway
I've
that
seen
doesn't
that one.
exist.
Was it like a greenish color?
Yeah, it was kind of like a inverted like
Yeah.
mocha, but like it was greenish, and I was like,
Well, now that
once I had them, I was like, there's no way these are real because like this color doesn't even exist unless like this person was like super hooked up or something. But
But then
I
you'd
don't.
think like, wow, yeah.
well, right
Yeah,
now that one's
I wouldn't
there's
even know if they're real because like even if they were like hooked up, I'd be like, I can't know because that colorway
Yeah.
doesn't even
Never
exist. Who
seen it.
knows? I don't
Sure.
know. I've never seen it.
well, there's one right now that's rumored to have that color.
Yeah. So like I said,
Low, yeah.
but that's why like kind of going
Oh,
back
see,
to that where like
yeah,
see some
I
of
would.
those places make fake ones ahead of time knowing that. So that's why I was kind of curious. But
Oh,
not
see,
that it's a big not that it's like a big deal regardless. I mean, someone's paying money for you to do it, so it really doesn't matter
right.
on either way. So it was just
It should
a
be kind of
question.
like a cheap way to like refurbish when, you know, maybe you have like a super OG 6 and you could buy replica 6 cheaper just for the sole.
Right.
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's always tricky though because like even though they're replicas from like the retros, sometimes like the widths will be different or the materials will be
Sure.
different. And I have been interested in like trying it out, but then I just won't because if I take an order and then I tell them I'm going to use a replica part, and like whatever company made it isn't like exactly the same fitment or the same material or the same width or like the same coverage on the upper, then like it's just a waste of time to be like, hey, like the even though it's the same thing, it's not going to fit or like it doesn't
Yeah.
fit exactly
Sure.
the same, you know? Which I've seen people do, and like I don't think there's anything wrong with it if anyone does it. It's just I just wouldn't want to take the risk of something not working out for a client and then it just being because I use a replica, you know.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that.
that was my thought, just because it'd be like a little bit cheaper. But then again, like the quality is different, and like you said, it could fit totally different, but it is the exact
Yeah,
same shoe. But
Well, and some of those reps right now are like super good. Like there are some that are like
go
scary
past certain
good.
yeah. Well, we've seen them go through stock.
Well,
X or
anything
go.
goes through StockX.
That's true.
yeah.
Um, so I think I asked you for the weirdest request. Do you have like do you have a favorite type of shoe that you like to work with for swapping?
I think like as far as sneakers, I'll always take Air Max ones. Like I don't care what it is, just because I love Air Max. Those are probably like my favorite to swap, just because that's like one of my favorite shoes. And then as far as like golf, like recently it's been the Kobe's because like the Kobe 5 and the Kobe 6 have been coming through a lot. And I feel like well that with like the TW20, like I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. They just look like they belong together. Like it just looks like a really clean silhouette. Like it's almost like if Nike would have made it like a golf shoe, like that's something like a sole that would kind of go with that shoe. So that's kind of been a cool one that I've been liking to do. It's just the aesthetics of it. It looks really nice, and the materials are actually like thick, so they seem a little bit more waterproof because they're all synthetic. So those are pretty cool.
Shut up. It's my turn.
Sorry.
So we actually know a guy who you did stuff with, Jeff from Chasing Aces.
Yep.
Yeah,
And he sent me the Kobe's you did for him. And they're sick. If I remember right, Jeff, if I'm wrong, you can yell at me over DM. I don't mind. If I remember right, there was some kind of like special edition Kobe that only he and a few other guys got. Because he did some kind of thing with Nike.
yeah.
So he sent me
Were they like a blue pair?
Yeah.
like blue and gold.
Yeah, yeah. It was like I think it was like a sample pair because I remember seeing the logo. I remember seeing the inside and like it was all like used, right? Like the sole was like kind of used up, like. But then you saw like the thing and it said sample, and I was like, oh, this is like a pretty cool Kobe. I've never seen this one before.
So he sent me those, and those were pretty sweet.
Mhm.
Oh shit, that's a snake.
Yep. It's for the Mamba.
Oh,
Kobe Mamba.
I've never owned a Kobe, and I don't really care to.
They're actually super nice. I like them.
So have you ever had like another crazy shoe like that come through that obviously like the off-whites, for those who are like into the hype, that's what it is. But I feel like a shoe like that is just like super subtle, but you're one of like, if you know type of thing.
Yeah.
Have you had any of those come through that you almost like didn't want to cut apart?
Um. Not that I can remember. I mean, like I feel like there's times I pay attention to like if it has like a sample logo on the tag or like something like that. But for the most part, no. Like it just if it's going to be taken apart, it gets taken apart, and it's just like if that's what the client wanted, then that's what the client's going to get. You know.
Jeff also did a Jordan 1 mid, like a white with the black patent leather swoosh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeff did those. Shout out Jeff. I think he might be the only person we shout out other than Luke.
Yeah, Jeff's awesome. And kind of to go back to your like whole like with the Kobe in the other you did a Kobe 8 shoe not too long ago, and you I forget what sole it was, but I saw a comment on there that somebody posted, and it was really cool because it's Swishman81, but he said, I really don't know how you aren't working for Nike Golf Design Team.
No free shout outs.
Shake my head. I love your work. So,
yeah,
but that's like kind of the stuff that kind of keeps you going and wanting to, it's like an inspiring.
What sole is that?
That's what I was trying to figure out. It's a Kobe 8 with some sort of.
I've seen that sole somewhere. Is that off one of those like really old, like weird Nike crew shoes that are like the wave? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what shoe that is.
Like I thought I saw Brooks Koepka do an ad for those.
Maybe.
I don't know. He's a tool.
But yeah, but in any case, to kind of go back to that though, like some of these shoes look better actually swapped than what the real shoe looks like. You know what I mean? So like this Kobe 8, I don't know if you even know what sole it is because I don't think you put it on there. It says custom golf sole conversion, but it doesn't have it. You posted it like a couple days ago.
it's like a turf. It's like spikeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kid you not. Like I know I've seen the shoe. I just don't remember the name right now.
Sure,
But it was like an older model, and like it was definitely not a popular model.
It turned out really nice though. I mean, it looks like it should have been on a like it should be a golf shoe.
Right.
So no, that's pretty cool. Pretty high praise. That's awesome. And speaking of that, you've been featured on magazines, podcasts, YouTube videos, and I'm curious to know, like, what has been your favorite project? This could be a project that's meant a lot to you, or a project that you really enjoyed because of the style of shoe you worked on. Can you maybe think of a project or two that really mean a lot to you that you've worked on?
Project that's meant a lot. I mean, yeah, there's definitely been a lot of them. I mean, like, there's been things that like we've done with like DJ Clark Kent. There's things we've done with like a lot of people in the sneaker community. But I remember the one that, I mean, because we're talking about golf, and there's a golf podcast. We did do the pair for Koepka, and then from there it kind of was like we didn't really share that we did that pair for Koepka because we weren't sure if it was something that we could share, if it wasn't something we couldn't share. And then we were just like, if he says something, then it's on him, like if he's going to give a shout out or like give credit to whoever it is, like, that's whatever it is. But it's been so long that I'm like, I don't think it matters at this point. But from there, I think what ended up happening was like, it kind of went like online that like Virgil had given him the shoes, or like Nike had given him the shoes. And, same, I was just like, well, whoever knows that we do swaps, like that's good enough for me. Like, we don't need to take credit for anything. Like, it just is what it is. And then we got reached out from Nomad Customs, which works on like golf shoes, like painting shoes. He's the homie, and he was like, "Yo," he was like, "They're trying to get in contact with you." And I was like who? And they're like, "Well, Virgil's trying to get in contact with you to do some shoes." And I was like, that's crazy, I was like, all right, well, we'll link up, or like we'll figure it out. And then from there, like, he ended up putting a commission, and just like having that project go through, and like having him send his pairs in, and like working with him to like figure out what sole he wanted on. We ended up going with like the like a Tiger Woods model on it, like the older model, on some Air Max 90s. He got 2 pairs done, and then just working with him, like just someone who's on that level, just be like so down to earth and like just humble and like direct, and just like working with someone like that is crazy. Just because once the project came out, like it kind of felt it's almost like I didn't need credit from the first pair. It was like, as long as I did a pair with like the man himself,
Awesome.
that project was really dope, because that kind of solidified, like, he understood that it was, I feel like it was going around that like these were directly from Nike or from him. And it was like, nah, like they weren't. And like, he was like, I'd rather commission a pair with you, so like, what's up. And I was like, to me, that was like super humbling. To me, that was like a good moment to like have, as far as like working in something that I didn't even think was going to be a big business, or like a business at all. To have something like that happen kind of solidified like why, or like how things happen in life and how they keep going within the sneaker community.
I don't think I'd be able to charge Virgil. Like, I don't think I'd be able to.
Well, I think I might have missed it, but did you say it was for Brooks Koepka?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, I would be in the same boat. Yeah. That's wild.
That was the pair where it was like, it's fashion, bro. When they were asking about like the tags and stuff, and it was like, it's fashion, bro. Yeah, that. And it was crazy because like I didn't know the pair was going to be for him either. It just kind of happened to be his, and I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. And
so cool.
And then once I saw them out, I was like, oh yeah, that's the pair we did. And from there, it kind of just was like, well, it is what it is. And then it kind of just evolved into like having to work with other people in the industry.
Did you do the Clint Frazier ones at all?
I don't think so. Which ones were those?
He's a baseball player. He played for the Yankees. He was doing like custom Jordan 1 baseball cleats. I think he had some Travis Scott baseball cleats. I remember reading about it. I don't remember if you did them or not, but like those were sweet. Or yeah, is that Clev? No, it's not Clev.
Oh, I think Josh Hader. Yeah. Josh Hader. Yeah. Yeah. He did the Jordan 4s, I believe.
Yeah. The Josh Hader ones for sure. Yeah, those we did.
Hader's nasty.
Yeah, that's sick. And then you've done a couple for some football players too, I believe, right? You had some, I think, posted a while back for some Boston, some New England Patriots players. I think this was a while back, and then I think a Boston's Red Sox player as well.
Right. It was like Rob Refsnyder.
Yes. Yep. Some Mambas.
He was a former twin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. But like to circle back though, like when you started this, oh, those are sweet. Yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah, I don't know who did Clint Frazier's now.
But to circle back, like this whole business wasn't started for golf shoes or baseball shoes. It was basically just sole swapping like regular basketball shoes, like street shoes, correct?
Yeah, everything just came from sneakers. Like in general, it wasn't like even for myself, I wouldn't like really put in emphasis until like going into sports and like trying to like do stuff with sports. It just kind of came out to be that people saw that, you know, you could change a sole, or like they saw pictures of a shoe taken apart and they were like, well, if you could do that for a sneaker, can you do that for like something else? Like I think we've even done bowling shoes. So it's like it's gone to the point where people get their Jordans like made into bowling shoes.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where the like everything else started. So it's like we still do swaps on sneakers, but then we'll also do swaps on like cleats. So it just kind of like was a next step into evolution into uh different like subgenres of sneakers. You know, like if you're a sneakerhead, you could be into a lot of things, and some people are into sports and golf and baseball, and they want to like unite those two things together.
Do you do swaps on ankle boots? Have you had one of those?
No, I haven't. No, I
Someone
haven't done
breaks their
anything.
foot.
No,
Well,
I
I'll
haven't
send
done.
you one.
Soul swap on a Air Jordan 1 low ankle boot.
Although Mischief just came out with some you could
Yeah,
wear.
that's what I was gonna say. I think they did that pair as a sneaker.
Oh, don't worry, I have a boot. I'll send you one. Don't tempt me.
So what has been what's like the most difficult part of swapping the soles?
I think the most difficult part is just making sure that while the separations is happening, that you don't ruin the upper that you're going to be using on the final product, right? So if it's like a Jordan 1, or it could just be like anything, depending on the material, the leather, suede, um, there has to be a way to activate it with heat, and then there has to be a way to use a solution which will like kind of dissolve it and separate it. And the good thing is that like you can get the job done, but the thing is with those same solutions and heat, you can also like ruin the materials. That's probably like the hardest thing, is just making sure detail oriented to make sure that like the materials don't get ruined in the process. And then the second part would just be like making sure the adjustments needed to have a hybrid as the fitment, how you're going to put them together, is still functional and it's still wearable, and everything is not just swapped for aesthetic. It's like they're made for you to wear them. And that's kind of like the part that we try to like emphasize, is that they're not just for looks. It's like you should be able to play them. Like Josh Hader should be able to like run them to the ground as he has been. So that's like the goal, and that's kind of like what we emphasize, is like not ruining what's there, and then making sure it's like fully functional.
Well, the way that dude throws, he should be able to run any shoe to the ground. Dude's an animal.
Yeah,
Throws the heat, some
Oh,
gas.
dude, his slider is disgusting. Okay, it's not baseball though.
Often things. You're good.
So I know what got me into sneakers is actually a little unorthodox. I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but the one that got me into sneakers was actually the Son of Mars, because I loved I always blank on his name. Spike Lee.
Oh yeah.
Spike Lee came out with those, and I know now people like clown on those because it's not a Jordan, it's a Jordan, quote unquote.
Yeah.
How do you feel about hybrids? Because I know we've been talking about, soul swapping stuff. For some reason, that seems to be more well taken, or more people seem to be more on that side versus the hybrid Jordans, like the Spizikes. They used to have hybrid Jordans like with Air Forces.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of those.
I'm not that old, so I wasn't really into sneakers at that point. I was into like the Spizikes. How do you feel about those from like a perspective?
I think design wise, I think it literally comes down to designing it, right? So like I feel like anything could be a hybrid, right? Like you could put a Jordan with like an Adidas if you really wanted to, and it's just not going to work out, because like either someone's going to look at it and be like, well, the brands are different, or the shoes design, like they just don't belong together. And then there's times where you put things together. I've had like Adidas and Nike shoes put together, and they look like they belong together, and it doesn't matter that they're two different brands. And depending on who the client is, like they won't care, because they don't care. They're not like super about like brands and anything. They just want a shoe that looks a certain way, or that feels a certain way. So I mean, I feel as far as the Jordan ones that are the Jordans that were hybrid, I think it comes down to the design. It's not really that they're hybrids. It's just I don't think the design was executed well enough for it to be a thing. Because I've seen Air Max ones with the 90 hybrid sole, and to me, I like those. Like I think they look dope. Like an Air Max
I've
one.
seen those.
they look dope, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they're different models and it's the same brand. It still looks cool. Some people don't like it, some people do, but I feel like if the design is pulled off well and executed, then it's gonna look good.
I know I've had some fun ideas with like I have a pair of those Adidas Boost You Wear, really ugly things with all the boost.
Oh yeah, I actually want a pair of those.
Yeah, they're super ugly.
I don't think so. I mean,
No, they're ugly.
They're not like the best looking, but they're not, like, terrible.
I have had so many ideas on taking the sole off of those and putting them on other things. And what I really want to do, we're getting a little off topic here, but we're going to talk about it. I want to take that sole and put it on like the Jason Kidd Zoom, where they the Air Zoom 95. I think that'd be super rad.
We're talking about the ones that almost look like it's like 3D printed.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
That, or like if you could find like an old Flyknit racer and put on like the new Ultra Boost where the way the sole's kind of shaped, I think would look really good with that. So if you're looking for like an intern with ideas,
he's got you covered.
I got plenty.
We've actually done a Flyknit racer with an Ultra Boost, which looked good. So and that's a good example of like something that would look good, but it's like different brands and it still works. So it's like if you have a design, it's gonna work out.
Well, that's why I said it, because I remember seeing that, but like the new ones have all the boosts in the heel, so it's super slim until you get to the heel. So I think that's where the like newer ones look really cool. But now that they're redoing the Flyknit racers with the Air 180 soles or whatever that Nike's doing right now, it would be kind of interesting. Or Air Max 180s, that's what it is.
I think one of my favorite pairs of shoes that you've done in the past is and you talked about it, was the the Jordan 4 with the Air Max soles. Those are the all white with the gum bottom.
Oh yeah, they were the like the Air Max 1 golf shoe, right?
Yeah, Air Max 1 golf shoe with the Jordan 4. Those were so sick looking.
That shoe gets so many inquiries. Like I'll have inquiries for that shoe. Like I remember I posted that, and then like I think like a month later, people were still inquiring about it. Like randomly would just be like, "Hey, like you still have a shoe, or like how can you make it happen?" That's kind of like one of the designs that came out, and it just was like it was a hit.
It should be a golf shoe for Jordan. I feel like that's the thing, or Nike or what, you know what I mean? Like it should be a shoe that they should sell. It's so cool looking. I think you've already answered this question, but I'll ask again here. What has been the most expensive shoe that you've swapped or customized in the past?
Oh, expensive.
I mean, Jordan 1 Off-White obviously is probably the.
I mean, there's been some like Louis Vuitton. There's been like Louis Vuitton shoes that come through, but like I don't know the price on them, but I know they're not cheap.
Sure.
Like there's been like loafers that are Louis Vuitton, or like there's like Off-Whites, and then there's like what else has there been? Yeah, I'm not.
You customize those the Dior, or like the Dior Jordan 1s. Is that so that was your creation as far as taking a Jordan 1 and then actually making like the.
No, I mean there had been I think there was somebody else that had done it, so they had just put the Dior on a Jordan 1 golf shoe as it is. Yeah, but it was I mean that one's like kind of like a no-brainer, right? Like it's just like the colorway is just similar. All you need to do is put the swooshes and the tongue tag that has Dior, like Air Jordan or whatever, and you know it's like looks almost exactly the same, other than the logo on the bottom on the gum, you know, or the translucent ice.
Yeah, the ice. I love that look.
A really sleeper expensive one you did was the Mars Yard. Those are
sweet.
No, they're ugly.
No, that
but you take them off the boot.
Oh, yeah,
those are stupid expensive.
Yeah,
like ungodly.
Those
I want to.
Are those on TW soles?
No, that's a normal. That's not a golf shoe. That's a normal shoe. Not everything is golf. That's why it's golfing things.
That looks like a.
No, that's like they just.
If you scroll down, it'll show you. Tell you normally.
No, this is. All you did was take off the boot.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like a golf shoe because it's a boot, like an outdoors boot. So it has that terrain grip, but it's just it's just a boot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, those are ungodly expensive.
Yeah, those I want to say whatever production came out of those like Mars Yards with like the overshoe, like we're in like the hundreds now of like how many we've converted. So I don't know how many there are around the world now, but I want to say a lot of them have been converted to like what you're seeing right there.
Oh,
I'm looking up the price.
At Trolls Golf Club had a question for you.
Sure.
Do most of your customer base use their conversions, or do they sit on them as like a work of art?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't I don't know if all clients do it, since I won't ask like, hey, are you using your shoes? But I do see like throughout the years, like people will post with them playing. So I want to say most people will use them. And then we do get inquiries, like usually it's like, hey, I have a tournament, or like, hey, I have this. So I can only assume they're going to be used because they want them for like a certain day, or like they're going to have like an outing, and they're like, I need them like by this date. So I want to say people are using them for sure.
At Odin Snipes 414 wants to know if there's one shoe combo that you could do for yourself. Which one would it be?
One shoe combo that I could do for myself. So I mean,
like your dream combination.
Yeah, basically what you create for yourself. You could.
My dream combination. I don't know if I have one. I mean, the one that I remember doing earlier on, which I really liked, was because we were talking about Mars Yard, is the Mars Yard upper on an Air Max 1 sole. Just because it has that like already Air Max 1 trainer look, and then I just paired it with an Air Max 1, which is one of my favorite soles. I've had that one for like years now, and like it's probably like the one that I would say I probably buy another pair to like remake it, because mine are pretty beat up already. So it'd probably be one that I redo to keep it again.
Do you have any more questions related to GOVRN? Otherwise, we'll maybe move to a couple food questions, and then we can wrap it up.
So I'm trying to remember how I worded it, but we talked about one earlier. Has there ever just been one that people keep bringing up that just like doesn't work? You know, like maybe they want to do this shoe with this shoe, and it's like super popular, which just doesn't work.
I think one that I haven't done in years, and people still ask me about it, was there was an off-white hyper dunk with a Nike Command, and it was like the Nike Command, so it was like that older model. And not only is that model not available as much anymore, like you can't really find it. It just didn't like it doesn't suit the hyper dunk as well. So like once we did it once, we were like, all right, it works, but like it's not the most compatible sole to use with that upper, because it's like different widths. But people love the design so much, they were like, I want to get it done. And I'm just like, it's not going to work out how you think it's going to work out. And then on top of that, you can't find the Nike Command sole as easily anymore. And so that's one that people will ask, and I kind of like think it's possible, but like at the same time, it's like something I'd rather do something that can function a little bit better. And then the other one is the Jordan 11. So the Jordan 11 gets a lot of like questions of sneaker. They want to put it with a golf sole, but like the Jordan 11 sneaker has so much coverage with the sole, and it uses like patent leather, but they have to sand the patent leather wherever the sole is going to land. That gets sanded down before they put glue and kind of tool it together. And when you take it apart, that patent leather is just sanded and like it looks blemished. And usually there is no golf sole that will cover the same area. And that's usually what like people will always get frustrated with, is like, why can't you do it? And my only option there is like the Jordan 11 football cleat. That's the one that could be converted over into a golf shoe, because the football cleat is minimal coverage. So none of the patent leather is actually blemished. So then you put it with a lot of options of golf soles. But the sneaker is the problem, because you can't really like cover up those blemishes with any golf sole. So usually people are pretty bummed out about that one. And the only thing I've been thinking of recently is I've been like taking apart a Jordan 11 to do the bespoke. And then that way, if they want one, it can actually be bespoke. And that way they have an option to put it on any sole, since the material is not blemished at all. So then that way they can get whatever they wanted bespoke.
Could you do an 11 that doesn't have patent leather? Because I know that's kind of been a trend with Jordan Brand lately, is they've been retroing the 11s, but like there's a couple of them that don't have any patent leather. Would that kind of be the same issue with nothing fitting?
Yeah, no, it usually with any leather that they use on the Jordan 11, they usually sand it down before they glue it, because the foam that's used, or the material that's used on the sole requires for the leather to be sanded. And then usually, unless it's like a suede, they won't prep it, because suede is already kind of like, it adheres to a lot of things without it needing to be sanded or prepped down. But other than that, if it's like a finished leather, tumble, patent, the factory will usually sand down the exact area where the sole is going to land. And then usually you need something to cover that exact same area, or you're going to end up with blemishes.
Just another reason to not like 11s.
I love the look of 11s.
Don't like 11s.
They don't really last that long either, too. If you you play and play basketball. He said that like material starts peeling off like right on the edges of the soles.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, so but they look awesome. They're fresh, but let's transition. So we pretty much covered most of the questions that these we wanted to ask to kind of get people aware of what you do and what the business is all about. But we always do talk typically about food at some point. And I know you said you're out in Los Angeles area. What are some like what's your kind of your go-to meal in maybe a restaurant or two in that area that you would suggest?
In this area, I'm closer to the East LA area, so I want to say restaurant. I'm
Or it
not
could be
sure.
like a taco truck or any type of place, maybe like a
Oh
little
yeah,
mom and pop place.
so for sure one that's out here in Montebello, which is on this side of LA, is Tacos El Torito al vapor. So everything's like cooked with like water vapor, so it's like super soft, and that's like a mom and pop place. It's like a house. They just put the stand outside. That place is really good. Let me see. I mean, this isn't an LA thing. Like I don't know if they I don't know if it's like a big thing, but like usually Dave's Hot Chicken is a pretty solid spot wherever you're at. Um,
You said Dave's Hot Chicken. Is that kind of like is it like like breaded like chicken strips, or is it like? Because I know like they have like the Nashville or the Nashville hot
yeah, it's kind of
chicken
like
strips and things, so something like
right.
that.
Pretty
Yeah,
much like kind of like Nashville, like hot
yeah,
chicken stuff. They
yeah.
usually like sandwiches or like so that's like a they've been
Those are
popping
good.
up on this side. Um, I'm trying to think of this restaurant that is like authentic like Chinese food. Um, but I can't remember the name. They have like really good dumplings and like they have really good like ramen and soup. So I forgot the name of the place, but that place is out in Monterey Park. Um, dang, I
Totally.
can't
No,
remember.
it's okay. I kind of put you on the spot.
No,
So
no worries.
we like I said, we've had a couple other guests on in the past, and we typically majority of our shows talking about, of course, the guests, and then we also deep dive into different restaurants and foods. What like if you were to like we ask this with every guest, but if you had like a go-to meal, or it could be a homemade meal or a famous restaurant or whatever it might be, like what would be if you had one last meal to eat, what would it be?
Uh, for sure, my mom's pozole. So just pozole.
Pozole.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
that'd be the one.
for those of us who don't know what pozole is,
Uh,
as in me, what is it?
so it's a maize like in a broth of meat, and then it's usually like you could pair it with like chile. So you just sometimes like I don't know if you know. Have you ever seen menudo?
Yes, I have personally. My wife
Okay.
knows it,
Oh,
but
I was
I
trying to
probably have, but just don't know like the name.
yeah.
Oh,
To
okay.
be
So
honest, you
then I
sold me
won't
on.
that won't compare it. But yeah, then it's like pretty much that. So it's like sometimes it could be pork, sometimes it could be beef. And then it's usually like a broth like stew with maize or like maize, I guess, like like the
Corn.
large corn. Yeah.
To be honest, I was sold that broth and meat. Like I was automatically there.
Yeah.
Do you
Probably seen it and just didn't correlate it.
my favorite, probably my two favorite, I love mole. That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
dishes.
Well,
Yeah, mole is really good. It all depends on obviously where you get it and who makes it, but my mother-in-law's mole is fantastic.
yeah.
And then I love me some flautas, and I'm trying to think. There's one of the oh goodness, I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Oh, tamales. I love tamales.
Mhm.
How do you
Yeah.
drop blank on tamales?
I was trying to think of the names. I had two other things that I was thinking at the same time for
Jeez.
food. When we start talking about food, I'm actually kind of hungry, and I'm like, oh, no,
Yeah, you don't
You guys,
feed me when I'm here.
yeah.
do you guys
Sorry.
have do you guys have like ramen birria out there? Birria?
Uh, not
There's
so much. There's a few places that have it, but
there's one place I've ordered from on DoorDash, which I know has been a hot topic the last few weeks on the
Yeah.
pod, is DoorDash.
I seen it pop up.
Honestly,
Well, that's why I asked because I've seen it more pop up, and I'm not sure where like it came from, but like it's pretty good too.
with the like ramen birria combo,
Yeah, yeah.
I follow a guy on TikTok and all he does is ramen. Like that's what he does. It's all of his videos are just ramen, and I know he made it, and I was like hooked pretty immediately.
So he like makes all the ramen.
Yeah, but then he does like little combos. So he did like a buffalo chicken ramen that was supposed to be pretty good. I like birria by itself.
Same.
Like if I had to only eat one thing, it'd probably be that. And you could just like bury me in just the vat.
It's so good. So filling.
It just drowned me in it. I'll be okay. So I'd have to imagine the birria ramen's pretty good. I know there's a place by me where I work that's just ramen. There's a couple of places that do.
Those are starting to pop up too. A lot more ramen places in general. But Raudel, we appreciate the time.
It sounds like a very Midwest thing, though.
I think it is.
Birria ramen.
Yeah, it kind of does. I don't know if that's where that.
All we eat over here in the winter for like 9 months of the year is just stews and chili.
Yep. It starts getting colder.
I love it.
But no, we appreciate your time. We'd love to have you on again down the road. Maybe we can have you on like next year sometime and can chat and see what else is going on in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. It's been a blast. Thanks so much.
It's fun to see the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we see all the pictures. It's kind of nice to pick your brain and kind of how it works. So we appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you.
Take care.
Don't be surprised if I take more shoes apart and start gluing stuff together.
Or we'll send an order, one of the two.
I don't think I can afford it. I'll start gluing stuff together.
I gotta.
Yeah, tell them what you got.
I got a few different ideas in my mind. No, I think the TW 13s and 14s have like that sole that's like looks good on almost any type of shoe. I feel like, and like, I mean, it's an awesome shoe itself, but I feel like you could take a cool basketball shoe and turn it into something really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So thanks again. I appreciate you. Take care and have a good night.
You too. Take care. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Absolutely.